Hi guys, this is Amanda with the Writer's Nook. I am hopping on here for my first video ever, at least with this group. Anyway, you guys joined the Writer's Nook because you wanted to figure out how to publish your own stories, preferably for less than $10,000 than it can, or the other thousands of dollars that it can take to publish your stories through a traditional publisher. And you also wanted to know the one thing that I thought really you need to have to do any kind of like breakthrough creative work, i.e. the one thing that you really need to have before you actually go out and publish your story, right? So long story short, back in 2019, I started self-publishing my own novels, and after some very, very, very minor success with my first novella, I basically flopped. It went down the drain, and I still am working on revising those novels to re-release them, so my second attempt, I know, is going to be much better than the first one. So, why do I think that my first attempts flopped? I think that the biggest reason, aside from the very, very real possibility that my writing may just suck, I don't think it does. I think it's actually quite good, and I do have several readers on the interwebs that actually apparently think that I'm pretty good as well. Anyway, aside from that, I think that the main reason why it flopped was because of lack of audience. And that was, when I say lack of audience, I mean lack of audience going into it. So, one thing that I learned when I looked at what it would take to become a voice actor, an actual actor, any kind of videographer, any kind of stage artist, because I explored my options after publishing. Something that I learned through those was that most entertainment industry potential employers, they want you basically to have an audience going into that, because basically it means less work for them in trying to build an audience. You have a ready-made audience. You already have people who are going to want to come see your films, watch your stage plays, listen to your audiobooks, and etc., so forth. Another thing with publishing your books, that I learned from publishing my books, was that it's easier to manipulate Amazon's algorithms and other algorithms if you have more people who are backing you from the outset. Same concept. So it really helps to have an audience with you and at your back before you actually dive into publishing your novel that you've worked so hard on. So, something that I've learned also from looking at various best-selling authors over the years, 50 Shades of Grey, Robert Kiyosaki's books. I'm completely blanking on the third one that I had in mind. Thing is, you don't have to be the best writing author to be the best-selling author. I mean, any number of romance books, you can look at that and you can look at their stats and you see that that's true. 50 Shades of Grey, let's face it, as interesting as a lot of people thought it was, it basically reads like a 5th grade fan fiction of Twilight plus BDSM. Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series, even says that he actually had an interview one year in Singapore with a journalist who said that she wanted to become a best-selling author like him. And it basically boiled down to, you don't have to be the best writing author to be the best-selling author. You have to know how to sell rather than how to write. So, that was the first thing. Second thing was that I recently had, I think Amberly, you mentioned, or you asked the question of, what are the two different types of publishing? What are the differences between them? So the two primary types of publishing are traditional publishing, or trad pub, and independent publishing, or indie pub. Those are the two main types that most people go for. Traditional publishing basically means that you take your manuscript to a traditional publisher or publishing agency. They look it over, they tell you whether or not they're willing to risk putting the money down and putting it out and publishing it for you and getting the word out for you. And depending on the agency, they might actually do all the advertising for you. They might actually do the marketing, other stuff for you. Pardon me. But a lot of the traditional publishing agencies that I have heard of or spoken to, basically it's still a lot of book touring, and it's still a lot of trying to get the word out yourself. And it would still help to have a pre-made audience going into it that will have your back and be ready to buy your books on launch day, which is the day that you release your book. Independent publishing, on the other hand, is basically where you take your manuscript and, you get it edited and stuff, and you basically do all the work yourself of building your audience and getting the marketing done, getting the advertising done, having that all that work done yourself. And then you go to someplace like Kindle or Nook, or Barnes & Noble, or Goodreads or whatever else, and you publish the book yourself. Some people even have their own web pages, and they basically have an e-commerce site where they sell their own books. Some of the benefits to that is that you basically have control over the entire process, more or less, and you can save thousands of dollars of money that you otherwise would have to pay to an ad agency or a publishing agency to do the advertising for you. Frankly, having made my own advertisements versus how much, looking at the numbers in comparison to how much an ad agency will spend or people will spend to have a professional do the advertising for them, it can be much more economical to do it yourself. That being said, there is a little bit of a learning curve for that. With independent publishing, you kind of have to know how to do all the advertising. Most of that is copywriting. A lot of that also is a choice of graphics for your ads. You kind of have to be able to figure out how to find a good book cover yourself. You kind of have to know how to do a lot of it. Well, basically, no, let's get real, you do have to know how to do everything yourself. And I think that the main reason why most independently published books don't usually skyrocket to the top of the bestseller list is because of lack of audience and lack of advertising funds. Now, you can do that organically without having to pay for it, but it's much more expedient if you do use paid traffic to develop your audience and stuff. And there are courses that will teach you how to do that. One of my favorites is Entre. It's called Entre Institute. They actually teach, say, affiliate marketing. They teach how to compress your knowledge into a course that you can sell. And then, of course, you can use your own marketing skills to do that. And actually, I went through it myself, and I found that it was very, very useful. It taught me a lot. If you'd ever like to talk about that sort of thing, feel free to give me a call or Sorry, I'm showing my age here. Feel free to give me a holler, shoot me a DM or something like that. I'd be happy to chat. But yeah, that's about the difference. That's the biggest couple of differences between traditional publishing and independent publishing. One, you pay a lot for it, and whether you actually have it succeed depends on how much you're willing to pay and what kind of services the traditional publishing agency offers. The other one, there's a learning curve, and it could take longer to learn the necessary skills, but you do have a greater amount of control over how well it performs. Basically how much you put in is how much you'll get out, more or less. And yeah, I mean, personally, I know which one I would prefer to do. I know which one I'm going to do when I re-release my novels. Or rather package all three of the novellas into one and re-release the one longer novel. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, shoot me a line or drop a comment below, say info, and I will reach out to you. Thanks, and I'll see you soon. Take care.